Some Learning Theory Informing ESD, Part 2. The graphic schematic models that follow reflect a range of theory noted in Chapter 5 of the UNESCO book on issues and trends in education for sustainable development. The original work should be read if a particular perspective resonates with your experiences and ideas. To assess a theory, try placing the matters of concern in the center and explore how the theory relates to and might inform your work. You will notice that there is a recursive circularity in the range of theory for informing ESD that is examined here. This is a departure from the earlier awareness creation, behavior change type of progressions that were common. An introductory piece on each theory is provided in the references. ESD as participatory action learning. The 5T schema is used as a common referent around nexus matters of concern and as a series of action learning, from tuning in together, talking about emerging concerns, thinking about these as inquiry unfolds, touching things and hands-on experiences of a situation, and taking action together to resolve the issue at hand, can all be informed and guided by a wide range of theory on learning, as we will see in the schematic models that follow. Into the business world first for single loop and double loop learning processes, and here we often start with the assumptions, planning and verifying, which is then adjusted in the first loop, a single loop. In the business world they also verify to revise the assumptions, and that's called double loop learning. This is very useful, simple and practical in ESD work. Experiential learning and Kolb's experiential learning cycle is very popular in field centers around concrete experience, going outside the classroom, doing and having an experience, the feeling, the experience, the reflexive observations, reviewing, reflecting on an experience and watching others doing things. The reflection followed, and then abstract conceptualization, concluding learning from experience and thinking, into conceptualizing, active experimentation, planning, trying things out from what you've learned, the doing part, and then testing. This is a very practical and very useful and widely used framework for planning ESD. Next, the European Bildung, very popular around civic action competence in the classroom settings and in school and community and whole school approaches. Investigation of a theme. Why is it important to us? Why is it significant to us and others now and in the future? What influence do lifestyle and living condition have? What influences are we exposed to, and why? How were things before and why have they changed? A whole series of questions leading to the development of new visions. What alternatives are imaginable? How are the conditions in other schools, countries and cultures? What alternatives do we prefer and why? Leading to actions and change in deliberative learning. What change will bring us closer to our vision? Changes within ourselves, in the classroom, and in the society. What action possibility exists for realizing change? What barriers might prevent change? What actions will we initiate? How will we evaluate these actions? So this is a very practical and engaged approach, which is also found in the African version of Bildung, which is developed in Africa around the idea of Ubuntu or Hunu Ubuntu, the solidarity, and also in Sujatra in Malaysia and elsewhere. Transformative social learning, some sequential moments in schools and community context, was put together by Wells to try to summarize diverse work all around the world. Exploration and orientation seem to be really important to get social learning going. Self-awareness raising was a dimension that he also identified, deframing and deconstruction, and then on to co-creating work, applying and experimenting and reviewing. Again, summarizing a massive amount of work and a very useful referential theory for social learning. Participatory learning. some didactic process in communities of practice. Communities of practice became really popular and are still widely used by groups of people who share a common concern and a passion. Not just any community, but people who are actually working together for something that they do and learn how to do it better as they interact regularly. Communities develop their practices through a variety of activities. The combination of shared domains, a community, and a common practice are the elements that constitute a community of practice. The practice of a community is dynamic and involves learning on the part of everybody. And some of the things are building arguments together, growing confidence, discussing developments, seeking experiences, requesting information, solving problems, using assets that you already have, coordinating strategy and joint work, documenting projects, visits to people who share common ideas, and mapping knowledge and identifying gaps. All of these elements are very useful as referential dimensions for looking into an ESD process. Then on to schooling, deliberative learning and school subject disciplines. The subject discipline startup is expanding, as you've seen with Kolb's cycle, taking people into the field, into practical work, and now much more work with photographs and story sharing, producing leading questions that lead to depth inquiry tasks, systems thinking around competences in mediated activities to make meaning, developing empathy and concern into designing and modeling of solutions, and then learner-led work into expansive learning, creative challenges or change challenges, and the assessment and grasp of applications and outcomes. So some general didactic principles for ESD as action learning at the nexus of matters of concern. What we find is, what we all know already to some extent, is it's participatory and inclusive. And interestingly, the I and the my dimensions becoming we and us in deliberations. Open-ended learning, expansive around what is known, developing competencies, holistic and ethics-led, transformative learning actions, and whole institution approaches. This reflects some of the key dimensions of principles in learning theory that are guiding ESD. You can expand and add to these as your work progresses. So process theories are also proliferating in ESD social movements, and you may have noted that they're becoming more common for ESD practitioners to draw on a mix of learning theory to guide and inform the ESD work. Some examples are the community of practice work, as we've already said, the collective leadership work that we're all working on, and of course the popular theory U. Process theories like these are on the rise as open-ended models of process that engage participants in collaborative learning progressions. The mix of learning theory that these draw on is not always clear, and they emerge as salvation narratives guided by lead authors and mediated by participants working with others to create the sustainable futures that they envisage as both possible and desirable. And finally, here are the references that I've drawn on, some startup readings on most of the theories that have been briefly mentioned, so that you can explore what interests you, what works for you, and what you can get to work with others in the continuing activities that you're involved in.